Hi, everybody.
Hello, I'm Ryan.
I'm Bethany.
And we are Ryan and Bethany Board Game Reviews.
And today we're doing another top 10 list. Woo!
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This time we are not talking about board games. We are talking about something before board games. And that is card games. We're talking about traditional classic card games, the kind of games that we grew up playing with our families before we ever even played what we now call modern board gaming.
Yeah.
So there's a couple things we want to talk about. First of all, a lot of the games that we're going to be talking about have changed a million times over the past forever years. And regionally, they might have different rules. They might have different names.
Yeah.
So if you hear us talking about a game and you say, that sounds familiar, I know that, but I call it by a different name. And there's one slight little rule tweak. That's just, we're talking about the games as we know them.
Yeah. Let us know what yours name is. Yours name. Let us know what your name is called of a game if it sounds familiar in the comments below.
Yes, we would love to hear and see different regional differences. Because we know there's a ton out there we don't necessarily know. We're only familiar with our own.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Also, so what we called relevant for this particular top 10 list is games that are played with a traditional 52-card playing card deck. I know there's other traditional decks as well, but just the 52-card deck with 4 suits and maybe some additional components like a paper and pen or a scoring board or poker chips. Spoiler alert, that might be relevant later. But, oops, I just bumped the table. But, yeah, things like that. You use that 52-card deck.
A few other things to know is we're going to mention trick-taking in a few of our games. And so trick-taking is where all the players play a card and whoever has the highest of it or the lowest, depending on how it goes, wins it. So everybody plays a card and one person wins it based on the criteria for that game and they win that trick. So you play multiple tricks to make up the entire game. Also, before Ryan and I even knew about each other, we each separately had our own playing cards collection. I was lucky enough to have a sister that traveled to like 27 different countries, and every single country she went to, she would bring me back a deck of playing cards. So I just have all these playing cards from all these different countries, and it's great. But enough about that.
Wait, I had more stuff I wanted to say, too.
Just kidding. Ryan has stuff he wants to say.
If we ever hear us talk about the word trump, trump is a terminology used in trick-taking games where one suit is usually ranked for that particular set of rounds, the highest suit. So let's say hearts is trump. So you have to, if I play a trump card, you would have to follow me or whatever the case is. Yeah. Or if you guys have played a whole bunch of spades and hearts is trump, and I don't have any spades, and I play a heart, I win that, even though
even if it wasn't the highest,
Exactly. Yeah. So that's what trump means in regards to trick-taking games. Let's get started. We've got some fun ones here. Another thing I want to mention, too. Sorry, I make drawing this out even longer.
We're never getting to this top 10 list.
Listen, we love playing modern board games. We've got a ton. We love playing them. We love introducing them to everybody that we know. But what we want to do is we want to promote gaming, tabletop gaming. If you are playing Monopoly with someone, guess what? You're a gamer. You're having fun with people around the table. If you're playing D&D, if you are playing these kind of games, if you're playing classic card games, if you're playing war, it doesn't matter. If you're having fun with your family and friends, you are a gamer, and we don't want everyone to, undermine these kinds of games, which is why we're bringing up this list, because we just love any type of gaming, any type of having fun like this, You can do all these games with a $2 pack of cards. And there's so much enjoyment there.
And you'll hear as we go, this is really our origin story.
Really? Yeah.
Card games. All right, so now I'm going to start.
Thing.
No, you don't have any more things. I'm going to start with my number 10, and that is BS. So that is obviously...
You watch your language, young lady.
Yeah, so we're really PG people. It's just who we are, so... enjoy. Anyway, so BS is a game where you all have cards and what you're trying to do is be the first one to get rid of your cards. And you're playing cards in the middle of the table and you're playing them without the other people knowing. But you have to follow an order. So it's an ascending order. So somebody might, say, I'm playing 2 5s and the next person is going to say they're playing 1 to, 4 4s. 6s. That's what I meant. 6s. But here's the thing. based on what you have, you might know if somebody's lying or not. Or they might be getting close down and you're like, there's no way they have that. So then if somebody puts something down, like I have 4 6s, which would be a terrible way to call BS, by the way. But anyway, you could call BS on them, and if you're right, they have to pick up all of the cards. But if they were telling the truth, then you have to pick up whatever stack was on the middle of the table. So it's just absolutely hilarious. I never win because I'm horrible at bluffing in this game, but it's a ton of fun.
A great way to teach your kids how to lie.
Yeah.
All right, my number 10, this is Go Fish, a simple game of Go Fish. This is a game that I like to play with our daughters, and I liked playing it when I was, that age as well, because it's so simple. But at the same time, it kind of teaches those early, ideas of set collection and trying to get, a set of 4 or a set of 2, depending on how you play, of the fish. And, so you ask on the table, do you have any 4s? And if they have any 4s, they have to give them up. And it's just a really simple, fun game. And then if they don't, they say go fish, and you have to go fishing in the pond, draw a card from the deck or a mixed up deck of cards of the pond. So yeah, Go Fish, simple, super simple, really fun.
My number 9 is Uno, and I know this is one of the games that most people are familiar with buying a deck that actually says Uno on it, but I didn't realize that this is something that's kind of like worldwide known. When I was in Uganda, when I was a teenager, the people there wanted to teach me, or the people that we were staying with wanted to teach me a game with cards, and they taught me Uno. It was just all the face cards were the draw twos, the reverse, the skips, and all of that. And I was like, I know this game, and that was really fun. So my number 9 is Uno.
My number 9 is Oh Hell, which is about the closest to swear word I'm gonna get.
This is why we're PG and not P.
Right.
Or is it G?
We're not G.
G.
PG. we probably are G. It doesn't matter. In this game, it is a trick-taking game, but the version I know at least, there is an ascending number of tricks. So the first one everyone gets is 1 card. Everyone gets dealt 1 card, and that's it. And you have to declare how many tricks do you think you're going to get right. So you're either going to say 1 or 0. And if you're right, you're going to get points. And if you're wrong, you're going to not get points. And then later on, you're going to get 2. Everyone's going to get 2 cards. You declare how many points you're going to get, how many tricks you're going to take. And you're going to keep on going up and up and up and up. The more accurate you are, the more points you're going to get. And again, the version that we play, the version I know, you basically play until the deck runs out. And it just gets more increasingly crazy as, in a 4-player game, everybody has 13 cards or whatever, then you don't really know what's, it's so much harder to gauge at that point, but it's a lot of fun. The points accumulate over those 13 hands of cards, 13 hands of cards. That's Oh Hell.
All right, everybody. My number 8 is 4 Corners, or sometimes it's known as Dutch Blitz. I will let Ryan do his solitaire rant in just a little bit, like a really short amount of time. So this game is not like solitaire, it's like Klondike.
Why are you stealing my thunder?
I said I was going to let you do your rant.
I will. Is a rant coming?
There is a rant coming. So basically, there's 4 corners, and you're playing with everybody, and it's the same thing where you're trying to get rid of your deck first, but you have to play the cards in a certain order. So it's kind of like a speed game to try to get rid of your cards, but you can only play them in a certain order based on these different piles around the table.
Yeah, so I play Dutch Blitz as a packaged game, kind of like how Uno is, but you can also just play it
exactly
with a deck of cards.
I think do you add like 2 decks?
I think so.
Yeah.
All right, so then my number 8 is I want to talk about a game called Klondike. Some people might know it as Solitaire, but that is a misnomer because Solitaire is not the name of a game. Solitaire is a family of games made for one person, also known as solo games. So Klondike is the specific and accurate name of the Solitaire game that I'm going to talk about.
See, I told you I was going to let it, yeah.
Yeah, and actually that was very succinct. I didn't rant too badly.
Yeah. You should have been here for the practice.
Oh, man, I left the camera turned off. Have it.
Yeah.
In Klondike, basically, you have some cards face up, some cards face down. You're ultimately trying to get all of your cards kind of up to kind of set aside. You have to play them in ace through king order in their various suits. but you have to kind of manipulate the table first. You have, after you lay out the cards that you're allowed to lay out, then you have a hand left over, and you're playing them 3 at a time. Whatever cards you can see, you place them out there. And you have to play basically in king, queen, jack, as you're playing them, king, queen, jack order, and you have to alternate between red and black cards, which is kind of a common theme for some of these games. But ultimately, the reason it's not higher on the list, because I do really enjoy this as playing it as a solo game. 2 reasons. First of all, it got overplayed by being on every single Windows computer.
Do we want to talk about that in You Got Mail?
Yes.
Yeah.
Every Windows computer had Solitaire on it. Klondike. And also, there are scenarios when you deal out the card. So I've heard. I'm not a mathematician. I don't know for sure, but I've heard that there are certain scenarios that when dealt out, no matter how correctly you play them, just are unwinnable scenarios. So
yeah,
it's interesting to know. But yeah, Klondike, my number 8.
My number 7 is Rummy, and you might know a game really similar called Rummy Cube, and they're basically the same thing, just one is with cards and the other one is with cubes. But
Tiles.
Tiles, yeah, thank you, not cubes, tiles. I'm trying to visualize that now, but...
It's just because they lead it to you. Rummy Cube.
Yeah.
Why didn't they call it Rummy Tile?
I don't know. Why didn't they? Anyway, so this game is really fond to me. I am fond of this game.
There you go.
I'm fond of this game. So when I was younger, when I was like a teenager and I first started carrying a bag or a purse or whatever you want to call them, I always had...
A clutch? Is that a thing?
Yeah, but that's not what I carried.
Shows what I know. I was trying to be
I always had a deck of cards with me at all times. I just always carried a deck of cards with me because you never knew when you were going to need a deck of cards. And I remember my friend Lisa and I, when we were going to school together, whenever we had breaks, we would get out the cards and we'd play Rummy. And she had the notebook and I had the cards and we just keep score. So in this game, you are trying to break a certain number. I can't remember what that number is for points right now, but you have to play your cards, but you can only play them in certain sets. There's orders on how you can play them, and you are trying to get the most amount of points, but basically you're trying to break through a certain number, and that signals the end of the game. So it was really fun, played it all the time. I'm pretty sure the way we played it is just not the way that most people played it. We melded and created our own version, but I mean, that's what all of these things are.
Right, that's why there are so many different versions of rules and names and everything.
Yeah.
All right, so my number 7 is another solo game, another solitaire game called Free Cell. This is a game where you're playing all 52 cards of the deck face up in these 8 rows, and you have to kind of manipulate them very strategically in order to ultimately, with a similar goal of Klondike, get them up into the top row there, playing ace through king in their various suits. And you really have to plan ahead as far as how you're going to manipulate everything, because you only have a certain amount of free spots to work with. It's hard to explain without showing you, but it can be really challenging. I have heard, again, anecdotally, that no matter how you deal out the cards in this one, they are all mathematically solvable. Obviously, some are harder than others, but apparently, allegedly, from what I've heard...
Who are you talking to?
I don't know. I'm just covering my butt. Yeah, so Free Cell, a lot of fun.
All right, so my number 6 is Hearts, and this is a trick-taking game. You are trying to score the lowest amount. So in this game, you're dealt the entire deck, so it's split 4 ways. And there are ways, obviously, to play with different numbers, but this is what we're doing. It's split 4 ways. You take 3 cards, and you pass it, depending on what round, to the person to your right, left, across the table, and 1 round you keep it. And then you play the cards, and you're trying to get the least amount of points. And you get punished for having the hearts, and you get punished for having the queen of spades. She's 13. She's 13 points.
And you don't want points.
And you don't want points. So this is just a really fun trick-taking game where you're using all the cards, and you have a little bit of knowledge based on what you passed, but they also have a little bit of knowledge based on what was passed to you.
And that game, you can shoot the moon.
You can.
Well, that's where you take all of the hearts
points.
And all of the queen, and the queen of spades. You take all those tricks. At that point, you get 0 points, and everyone else at the table gets 26 points.
Yeah.
Which is a blast.
Yes.
All right, my number 6 is Blackjack. I've heard it called 21. This is basically a game where you are pushing your luck. This is, a really early push your luck game. You're trying to get to exactly 21 points worth of cards in front of you, and face cards are worth 10. Aces can be worth either 1 or 11. And so you're going to be dealt 2 cards, one face up, one face down, and then you can kind of secretly see what, everyone can see your face-up card, obviously, but you know what the math is. Maybe you have a jack hidden and a 6 up top. That would be worth 16 points. Now, that's actually a really bad situation because 16, it's kind of that breaking point. Like, there's a really good chance that if you take another card, you're gonna bust. Or you basically go over 21. But there's a small chance that you get a lower card, which would kind of up you to that maybe 19, 20, 21 range, where you're more likely to win the round. Maybe, you have 20 right out of the bat. You have a 10, and you have a face card, a king. And, you hold. I'm not taking any more cards. Or, it's just, it's a push your luck game. Try to get as close to 21 as possible without going over. Only you have certain knowledge in front of you. This is a big betting game. See, there's a lot of casinos. And I know that a lot of people get enjoyment out of playing it longer term. I don't like spending money on betting and gambling. I'm just not a gambler. I like playing just a handful, spend some time, see who can get the closest 21 without going over. Yeah. Do that 5-10 times. Yeah. And that's a lot of fun for me.
All right, everybody. My number 5 is Pyramid, or I knew it as Touch Tomb. And this is a game where it's another solitaire game, and you line up the cards in a...
Pyramid?
Oh, gosh.
What was the name of the game again?
I think it's...
Pyramid?
I think it's 7, so it's like 1 at the top and then 2, 3, and it goes across like that until you get 7. And you're trying to get pairs of 13. So a king is a 13 by itself. And so you're trying to get pairs and clear off the board. And what you're trying to do is clear off the entire pyramid. Like Ryan was saying about these other games, though, there are sometimes when you deal this out and you're not going to be able to win it. Oh, I forgot to mention, there's the deck. You flip the deck, you flip a card over, and you try to match it with one of the cards that are there. I just remember playing this game so much when I was a kid. Like, this was the solitaire game that I played. I know people played other ones, but this was the one that I played all the time. And you know what? I should have cheated as a kid. Instead, I'd be like, oh, I lost, and I just put it all together. I didn't, try to find matches or anything like that.
That's probably for the better for your character.
Yes, but that is Pyramid or Touch Tomb.
My number 5 is called a 52 card pickup. This is where you take a deck of 52 cards, ask someone if they want to play 52 card pickup, and they say, sure. And then you throw all the cards in the air and say, pick it up. And then you walk away.
No, that's not true. That's not his number 5.
No, I've never done that either. But my number 5 is a game that we called Egyptian Rat Screw.
We don't know why.
You had no idea why. It's ridiculous. In this game, what's happening basically is everyone's playing cards in a row until someone plays a face card, inevitably. And once someone plays a face card, you're picking from a face-down deck, and you're flipping over the top card, revealing it, and playing it. So once someone plays a face card, each face card is assigned a value. A jack is a 1, an ace is a 4, queen is 2, and king is 3. And once someone plays a face card, the next person in player order has that many chances in order to play another face card. If they don't, the player who played the first face card gets the whole stack.
And that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to get the whole deck.
Yeah, the goal is to get all of the cards, the whole 52 cards. So maybe it's going around. I finally play a king. That means the next person has 3 chances to play a face card. They play something offsuit, then they play a queen. Okay, well then it goes to the next player. They now have 2 chances in order to play a face card. So right now this is all luck based. There's no skill involved at this point. However, and again, there's a million varieties because all these games have a million varieties. The version we're familiar with is when you see a pair or a doubles of cards, so like a 6 and then someone else plays a 6 on top of that, everybody has a chance to slap that stack of cards. The first person on the bottom of the stack touching the cards gets to take the whole stack of cards for themselves. Yep. So it adds a speed and a dexterity element to the game. And it gets especially crazy with with the face cards. So let's say someone plays a queen. Well, the next person gets 2 chances to play a face card. Their first card's a queen. All these hands are flying in there and it's chaos. It's very swingy too. So
Yeah.
like I might feel like I have like 3/4 of the deck at one point, and then a half hour later, I'm out. Maybe I have no
Yeah.
cards.
This is the game that never ends.
But why would you want it to? Because it's so much fun. I got a lot of fond memories of college playing this game late into the night.
Yeah. My number 4 is Spoons, and this is a game where you are trying to collect 4 of a kind by passing cards. So everybody, you have a card and you pass it, you have a card and pass it. Basically, you're trying to get 4. It doesn't matter what it is. But the tricky thing about this game is there are as many spoons in the middle of the table, one less to player. And so if there's 6 people, there's 5 spoons. And so what you're doing is you're trying to do this, and then you're trying to very sneakily grab, and it doesn't have to be a spoon. It can be like anything, just not sharp objects.
Yeah, it can be
So you
razor blades.
So you grab a spoon, and as soon as people start noticing, it becomes kind of like musical chairs, like the musical chairs card version. Everybody just goes for it and tries to get it, and then whoever was not able to grab one is out.
Well, they get a letter. You spell out the word spoon.
Okay, yes.
At least in the version I knew.
Well, yeah.
For Michigan.
Yeah, for Michigan. Speaking of Michigan.
Good segue, Ryan.
I don't know if any of Ryan's, family up north watches this, but if they do, I remember the very first time I met all of you. Very first time. We came up there to be like, hey, Ryan and I are getting married. Come to our wedding. And we decided to play spoons. And you know what? You guys pushed me. You guys pulled a chair out of me. Pete, your Uncle Pete, he literally pulled a chair out from under me. I fell to the ground so his daughter could get a spoon. I remember.
That same daughter, later on that evening, in an attempt to get a spoon, punched him in the face.
Yeah, so that's what you get.
All fair game. All is fair in love and spoons.
Uncle Pete just, attacks people with spoons. So this is why you have to play it with a non-sharp object.
Yes.
Yeah.
Spoons, a lot of fun, a lot of chaos. My number 4 is, I put generically poker. Poker is more of a family of games. I could probably do a top 5 list just on my favorite poker variants.
Yeah.
The one that I think that most people in our area are familiar with is called Texas Hold'em. I personally love Omaha High-Low. There's 5-card, draw. There's 7-card stud. There's just a million pokers variants. But usually what happens is there is cards that you know of that you have in your pocket that you know what they are, and then other cards are going to come up that become available that everyone can see, and then you have several rounds of betting as more and more cards are revealed of who has the best poker hand. And the poker hands kind of, if you're not familiar with those, can be as simple as a pair of cards or 2 pairs of cards, and then it kind of gets more and more increasingly difficult, like all cards being the same suit, that's called a flush, or 5 cards in a row, it's called a straight. And then the top, the very highest one of all is called a royal flush or a straight flush of 5 cards in a row that are also all the same suit. And in this case, the royal one, it's be ace, king, queen, jack, 10. So you are betting to see who has the most, or who has the best poker hands. And at the end of it all, whoever gets, has the best poker hand gets all the chips that were bet that round. I really, really like poker. Like I said, I love Omaha High-Low. I love Texas Hold'em. The reason I don't play it as much anymore, and the reason it's not higher on my list, is because
It's pretty high.
it is high. It is high, but why it's not higher, like would suggest based on the number of times I've played, is I play a certain way based off of stats and kind of reading the table a little bit. Where no matter what the stakes are, I'm going to play a pretty consistent way. I'm going to play, and try to have fun. But then once the higher up you go, or even the higher up you go in your head, some people think they're way better poker players than they really are. Oh, yeah, I play all the time. Okay, whatever. But the point is, those people cannot seemingly enjoy poker without having high stakes on the ground.
Yeah.
If there's no, a lot of money involved, they just kind of go all in on every hand, or make ridiculous bets on every hand. They're not playing strategically. They're not playing wisely. They're just, there's no money involved. Well, no big deal. And I'll end this one, knowing full well that we'll deal them in the next hand or whatever. So that is kind of a trade-off. That being said, even with stakes, it can be a lot of fun. But I just don't like gambling. Like I mentioned before, we're talking about blackjack. I'm not a gambler. I like playing risky games and luck-based games and all those things. But I don't like gambling. So that's why the games behind me, that we play more often, are so great because you can still get some of those gambling and betting experiences with no real stakes in the line other than just bragging rights.
Yeah. All right, everybody. My number 3 is Speed, and this is another game where you're trying to empty your deck. So it's a 2-player game. At least the version that I know, it's a 2-player game, and you each have a deck. There's 2 cards in front of you, and then there's a little pile just in case you guys get stuck. So basically, you flip over those 2 cards, and you can only hold 5 cards in your hand, and you're trying to get rid of your cards as fast as you can. But you can only play your cards in order. So if there's a 7 on one of those 2 cards, you can play either an 8 or a 6. So then if I play an 8, then the other cards that you can play are a 7 and a 9. And it just kind of goes that way with the aces connecting the 2 and the king. And then you're just trying to empty your hand. You can only hold 5 at a time, so you can only draw if you can play. You're just trying to go super fast. The decks on the side are there if just in case you and the person you're playing against get stuck and nobody can play anything, you flip those cards at the same time to just add more variety so you can hopefully go through your deck. And this is like what childhoods are made out of. This is how you get angry at your siblings. This is how you beat your siblings when you're mad at them. And this is how you demolish your siblings just at all times. Or be demolished by your siblings. But this is a game I played all the time as a child. Absolutely love it. I have memories of just sitting in the living room playing this card back and forth with Havla and Matt, just like all the time. And it is a blast.
This reminds me a ton of a game called Blink, which is a small deck card game, which I think was even a Spiel des Jahres winner at one point. But yeah, I love those speed games like that. All right, so my number 3 is a game called Spades. This is another trick-taking game. You are playing with a person across from the table from you. It's a 4-player game, and you are partners with them. So you have partners and then partners this way. You are going to look at your hand. You're going to have 13 cards in your hand, the whole deck, and you're going to say how many tricks you think you can take, and you might say 2 or 3 or whatever it is. And then your partner, everyone's going to go around the table, and so then whatever your number is and your partner's number is, that number is now your new partner total. So even if I said 3 and my partner said 4, our number is 7. So even if I only get 1 and they get 6, it works. Where it gets really fun is there's something called going nil, which means you bet 0. In that case, it's really, really tricky. You basically have to take no tricks, which can be really hard. So your partner has to kind of cover for you a little bit. But if you're able to do it, you're able to get a 100-point bonus. And the goal is to get to 500 points. So 100 points out of 500 is a ton. So Spades is one of my favorite trick-taking games, one of my favorite partner games. A lot of fun.
I really enjoy Spades too. But to be honest, I really confuse Spades and Hearts a lot. My bad. It's like the 4 cards, you deal out the whole deck, and I'm like, which one are we doing? But that's just a Bethany thing. So my number 2 was actually Ryan's number 5, and that is ERS. I have actually, Egyptian Rat Screw, we call it ERS sometimes.
Because Egyptian Rat Screw is just so weird.
So actually, I knew a girl from New York, and I was teaching her this game, and when I taught it to her, she's like, I know this game. It's called Faces. And I'm thinking to myself, that makes so much more sense. Like, the stuff happens when you draw the face cards. Like, why? I don't know why we call it that. Like,
That's how someone taught it to us.
I guess, but it's just, like, ridiculous. Faces makes so much more sense. Get it together, Midwest. But anyway, this game is absolutely hilarious. It's so much fun. What I liked to do is when I was younger, I used to wear a ton of rings. What I would do is I flip them around so that way if there was ever like that double and I go in there, people knew that if they beat me, there was pain to be had.
And I view that as pre-defeatism.
No.
You knew you were going to get beat to the pile, and you were wanting to punish those who beat you.
This was more of, if you thought that you beat me, prove it with the blood.
Ow, why?
Because there's none there, I beat you. I get the whole deck.
So either
way, I win. You have pain from me, or I get the cards.
Don't play cards with Bethany. She's kind of evil. That's terrible.
It works. I won a lot. This is the game that never ends, so it can go on forever. And when we were younger, we would play a version to where it was called You Could Slap In. So we're playing a game, 3 or 4 people are playing, it's already ready, and somebody walks up and they're like, hey, can I slap in? And all that means is if there's a double and if they're able to beat everybody, they're officially playing the game.
They're in the card. They get those cards.
Yeah, they get those cards, and so like, hey, can I slap in? Yeah, sure. And then this is why it's the game that never ends.
Yes. All right, so my number 2 is Barboo. Now, this is a game that's kind of a conglomeration of a bunch of other kind of mini games. So one of the games might say No Hearts. And so you're playing a trick-taking game where you're trying to avoid taking hearts, kind of like Hearts itself. Another one might say No Queens. Don't take any queens throughout this game. And if you take queens, you're going to get negative points. Or one of them is No Last Two. So you don't want to take the last 2 tricks. You have to play all 13 tricks in a 4-player game. And if you take any of the last 2, you're going to get some points, or negative points, which is bad. My favorite one is called Dominoes, which is its own kind of standalone game where you're playing cards as if they're dominoes. So things have to be touching, like an ace can go to an ace and then a king, or, all that kind of stuff. It's a lot of fun. Being the winner of some games gives you positive points. Being the loser of other versions of the games gives you negative points. This game can drag on a little bit because every player has to select every mini game.
Yeah.
At one point. So you deal out the cards first, look at your hand, and then you say, okay, I'll play dominoes with this hand. Or I'll play whatever it is. And then you scratch off, your name. Bethany, dominoes. Okay, so she can't call that one again. So like it's say in a 4-player game, you're going to play 28 big old hands of cards. But it's still really rewarding. It's a longer term card game, and it can be a lot of fun. And the scores are very swingy based off of, if you lost one of those big ones, like if you took the last 2 tricks or whatever, you can lose like 30 points just right off the bat.
All right,
crazy,
everybody.
Crazy.
Oh, I'm sorry. Everybody, we're finally here.
We've arrived.
And guess what? We have another crossover, and it's our number 1 game.
Our number 1 games matchup. And it's probably because of each other.
Yeah.
This game, before we tell you what it is, we both learned this game independently with our families, played it a whole bunch, loved it.
Yeah.
And then it's the game that we played the most when we were first getting together as well.
Yep.
And the game is Euchre. This is another game that has a whole lot of variance to it. There's different little sub-rules and fun things that you can add in. But essentially what it boils down to is it's a trick-taking game. It's a partner game. You're playing with a person across from you. You're going to play 5 tricks, 5 hands, and you were trying to get at least 3 of them. So
you don't play with the whole deck.
Right, you only play with kind of like the 9 on up, and of each suit. And if you're the person who calls, your team is the person who calls what trump is, which I'm not going to get into the rules of what that means necessarily, but your goal is to get 3 or more tricks. Yeah. And then your opponent's goal, there's also to get 3 or more tricks. If you are the one if your team successfully gets it, you're going to get 1 point. But if the team who did not call trump calls it, they're going to get 2 points. It's called getting set. You do not want to get set. And there's other rules, like if you go alone, like if you were able to take all 5 tricks by yourself, you get a bunch of points. Or there's all these little silly things like that can happen.
So here's the ridiculous thing about this game is that when my brother Matt and Ryan play, it's just like, it's not fair. They have been playing this game together for like 20 years. And so like they don't even think they know exactly what the other person has. They're not table talking. They just know each other that well from having played it. So it's kind of like frustrating when that happens. But then also when you beat them, it is like one of the most victorious feelings in the entire planet.
If you get that rare feeling to happen to you.
Oh, it's not that rare anymore.
It's true. We've been playing these. We've been playing board games more often lately.
But this is one that we routinely play when we get together with my family. Like, it's asked for, right? Because they might not be gamers, but they are euchre players. And so this one just gets played all the time. It's so much fun. It's really easy to learn it when you're 9 and your sister's yelling at you when you get things wrong. So you learn it fast. I recommend that route.
You don't lead a high offsuit when someone is...
Yep, all of that.
There are certain patterns that you can get into in this game, definitely. But like you said, like people can be euchre players. Yeah. That's the nice thing about some of these card games is they are some of them can be lifestyle games. Like people who are like in bridge clubs and pinochle clubs. We just played a Sherlock Holmes consulting detective case that was all about
Whist,
which apparently Oh Hell is a version of Whist.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so, or vice versa. One of the versions of Oh Hell is a version of Whist also. Anyways, whatever. That's on the Wikipedia page. And so, yeah, these lifestyle games are just really interesting. Like people who play chess just really, really well.
Yeah.
And again, that doesn't make you less of a gamer. It just makes you really good at chess.
Well, everybody, thank you so much for making it this far. This is one of our longer videos.
It might be our longest.
It's because we didn't have we didn't have a lot of crossovers, so we were talking about more stuff. So sorry about that. But if you stuck to the very end, thank you so much. Make sure to subscribe so you can see our videos as they come out. And then also, we really want to hear from you. If there's a game that sounded familiar, but you know it by a different name, we want to know. We're really interested, and we just want to know how these games kind of morph. So make sure to follow us on all the places. On Facebook, we're Ryan and Bethany Board Game Reviews. On Twitter, we're Ryan and Bethany 1. And on Instagram, we are Ryan and Bethany.
All right, you guys, what were your favorite card games? What do you guys play with your family when you're playing card games? I would love to hear from you, and we will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.